Have you ever wondered what secrets lie buried beneath the earth, waiting for a whisper from the past to reveal their truths? At the foot of Mount Parnassus, where the rugged cliffs cradle the serene landscape, ancient mysteries breathe life into the stones of Delphi, a site revered for its enigmatic oracles and profound connections to the divine. Delphi, the center of the world according to the ancient Greeks, was more than a mere geographical location. It was a sacred space where the mortal and the divine intertwined. Here, the oracle of Delphi, known as Pythia, would sit enthroned in the temple of Apollo, her words shaping destinies and igniting conflicts among city-states. As early as the 8th century BCE, pilgrims and leaders traveled vast distances to seek her counsel, eagerly awaiting the cryptic utterances that could alter the course of their lives. To understand the mystique of Delphi, one must first delve into its origins. The site was believed to be the dwelling of Gaia, the Earth Mother, who was thought to have given birth to the oracle long before Apollo claimed it as his own. This primordial connection imbued Delphi with an aura of ancient power, a place where the very breath of the earth whispered secrets to those attuned to its rhythm. It was here, in the shadow of the sacred mountain, that the Pythia inhaled the vapors rising from a chasm, entering a trance that transformed her into a conduit for divine insight. Archaeological excavations at Delphi have unveiled layers of history, revealing not only the iconic temple of Apollo, but also treasuries, theaters, and athletic facilities that once thrived during the sacred Pythian Games. Each stone, each fragment of pottery, tells a story of devotion, ambition, and the relentless pursuit of knowledge. Among these discoveries, the remnants of the ancient theater still echo with the laughter and lamentations of spectators who gathered to hear the oracle's pronouncements, their anticipation mingling with the incense of offerings laid at the altar. Yet, what truly set Delphi apart was the nature of its prophecies. Scholars have long debated whether the oracle's revelations were the product of divine inspiration or the result of natural phenomena. Some posit that the intoxicating vapors, possibly ethylene, released from the Earth's fissures, played a crucial role in inducing the Pythia's trance-like states. This theory, while grounded in modern science, poses a paradox. Could it be that the divine and the natural coexisted, each lending credence to the other? The ethereal whispers of the earth may have been interpreted as messages from the gods, blurring the lines between myth and reality. As the sun rises over the ruins, casting a golden hue on the crumbling columns, one cannot help but feel the weight of history pressing upon the landscape. The beauty of Delphi lies not just in its breathtaking vistas, but in the stories that linger in the air, tales of kings seeking the truth of warriors hoping to change their fates, and of ordinary citizens yearning for guidance in their tumultuous lives. The oracle was a beacon of hope and fear, her words both revered and debated, shaping the moral and ethical landscape of ancient Greece. In this sacred enclave, the Pythia's utterances were often cloaked in ambiguity, wrapped in riddles that demanded interpretation. This deliberate obscurity served to enhance the oracle's authority, as seekers left the sanctuary with more questions than answers, an experience that compelled them to return. It was a dance of language and belief, a testament to the human desire to find meaning in chaos. Delphi's legacy extends far beyond the ancient world. The philosophy birthed from its shadows continues to echo through centuries, influencing the likes of Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. The Delphic maxims, such as "Know thyself" and "Nothing in excess," resonate through the ages, offering wisdom that transcends cultural boundaries. Even now, the very name Delphi conjures images of enlightenment and mystery, an emblem of humanity's quest for truth. Yet, even as we unearth the layers of Delphi's history, the question lingers. Was the oracle a mere reflection of earthly gases, or was it a divine echo, a bridge to the divine? As the winds rustle through the olive groves and the sun sets behind the mountains, Delphi stands resilient, a testament to the enduring enigma of the human spirit, forever whispering its secrets to those willing to listen. In the cradle of Mount Parnassus, where the land whispers tales of gods and mortals, the site of Delphi stands as a testament to both divine inspiration and human inquiry. The oracle, a figure draped in mystery, was once sought after by the most powerful leaders and ordinary pilgrims alike, all yearning for a glimpse into the future. Yet, beneath the layers of myth and reverence, lies a trove of archaeological secrets waiting to be unveiled. In the early 20th century, as the sun cast a warm glow over the rugged terrain, a new generation of explorers, archaeologists, and historians turned their eyes to this sacred site. Among them was the renowned French archaeologist Pierre de la Coste Meselier, who embarked on the monumental task of excavating Delphi. Armed with enthusiasm and a thirst for discovery, he aimed to peel back the layers of time, revealing not only the physical remnants of the oracle, but also the societal and spiritual fabric that enveloped this revered locale. As the spade struck the earth, the ground seemed to sigh, exhaling the weight of centuries. Meselier's team unearthed a myriad of artifacts, each telling a story of the past. Among the first discoveries was the sanctuary of Apollo, the god to whom the oracle was dedicated. The grandeur of the temple, with its imposing columns and intricate friezes, spoke of artistic prowess and religious devotion. But it was the remnants of the Pythia's chamber, the inner sanctum where prophecy was uttered, that truly ignited the imagination of historians. Here the priestess would inhale the vapors that wafted from the chasms below, a practice believed to bridge the earthly realm with the divine. Yet, what kind of vapors were these? The question tugged at the minds of scholars and skeptics alike. While some legends spoke of divine inspiration, hinting at Apollo's breath itself, others pointed towards a more earthly explanation, miasma, a noxious gas, potentially ethylene, that could induce a trance-like state. This dichotomy of belief and science emerged as a central theme in understanding the oracle's pronouncements. Meselier and his contemporaries uncovered geological evidence suggesting that seismic activity beneath Delphi could indeed release these gases. A paradox unfolded where the divine and the natural coexisted, challenging the very fabric of belief. Among the fragments of pottery and inscriptions bearing the Delphic maxims emerged, echoing the wisdom once imparted by the oracle. Know thyself, nothing in excess, and give a pledge and mischief is nigh, became more than mere phrases. They were guiding principles that shaped Greek society. Each maxim, like a delicate thread, wove itself into the tapestry of everyday life, revealing how deeply the oracle's influence permeated the psyches of those who sought her counsel. As the excavation progressed, the discoveries grew more significant. The remnants of the theater, where spectators gathered to hear the pronouncements of the oracle, revealed a cultural intersection where the sacred met the artistic. The acoustics were so finely crafted that even the softest whisper could be heard echoing against the stone, much like the whispered prophecies that once permeated the air. This architectural marvel was not only a venue for entertainment, but a sacred space that fostered a community of seekers. Yet, amid the excitement of discovery, a darker shadow loomed. The local populace, once steeped in reverence for the oracle, began to grapple with the implications of the findings. The juxtaposition of faith and scientific inquiry ignited a conflict that resonated through the ages. Was the oracle a vessel of divine wisdom, or merely a conduit of earthly vapors? This question echoed through the minds of philosophers, priests, and the populace, sparking debates that would transcend time and influence generations to come. As the ground yielded its secrets, the oracle at Delphi emerged not just as a relic of the past, but as a living enigma, a paradox that encapsulated the duality of human nature, the search for meaning amid chaos, the quest for knowledge intertwined with the sacred. The stories that emerged from this excavation were not merely about the stones and artifacts. They were about the very essence of humanity, seeking, questioning, and yearning for connection with the divine. As the sun set upon the storied ruins, casting long shadows across the sacred site, it became clear that the oracle's allure was far from diminished. The excavation not only unearthed the physical remnants of a bygone era, but rekindled a flame of curiosity that would continue to burn brightly, inviting all who sought to unveil the mysteries that lay beneath the surface. A breath of the earth, a whisper from the divine, an eternal enigma waiting to be unraveled. In the sacred tranquility of Delphi, where the mountains cradle the sky and the winds whisper secrets long forgotten, dwelled the enigmatic figure of the Pythia, the oracle, who held the delicate threads of fate in her hands. Clad in flowing robes, her presence was both commanding and mystical, shrouded in an aura that transcended the mundane world. She was not merely a woman, she was a vessel through which the divine spoke, a bridge between the earthly realm and the ethereal. The Pythia's sanctuary lay within the temple of Apollo, a structure steeped in grandeur and adorned with intricate carvings that celebrated the god's legendary exploits. It was here, amidst the scent of burning laurel and the sacred smoke that curled toward the heavens, that she delivered her prophecies. Yet, the path to her exalted position was fraught with trials, for the Pythia was chosen not by lineage, but by the whims of the gods. The selection process was as mysterious as the utterances themselves. Initially, the priestess was chosen from a pool of local women, often elderly and considered pure in spirit. They would undergo rigorous training, honing their connection to the divine while navigating the treacherous waters of public expectation and superstition. Once selected, she would undergo a transformation, physically, spiritually, and psychologically, before she could sit upon the sacred tripod poised over the chasm that some believed to be a fissure in the earth, exhaling vapors that inspired divine insight. Historians and archaeologists have long debated the nature of these vapors. Some assert that the inhalation of ethylene gas, a byproduct of the geological activity beneath Delphi, altered the Pythia's state of consciousness, allowing her to enter a trance-like state conducive to prophecy. The writings of ancient historians like Strabo and Plutarch provide tantalizing clues. Strabo described the oracle's ecstatic state, while Plutarch noted the divine madness that overtook her. Was she channeling the gods, or was she merely a victim of nature's whims? As the Pythia ascended to her role, she became the focal point of a society eager for guidance. Rulers and commoners alike made pilgrimages to Delphi, drawn not only by the promise of divine wisdom, but also by the allure of her enigmatic persona. Such was her influence that her words could sway the fate of nations. The decisions of kings were often based on her cryptic utterances. The legendary tale of Croesus, the wealthy Lydian king, serves as a poignant example. Seeking assurance of victory against Persia, he consulted the oracle only to receive a prophecy that led to his downfall. The Pythia's utterance, "If you cross the river, a great empire will fall," was interpreted as a harbinger of triumph, yet it foretold Croesus's own defeat. Herein lies the enigma. Did the Pythia possess the foresight of the divine, or was she merely a conduit for the murky chaos of human interpretation? Her enigmatic utterances were often laced with ambiguity, a characteristic that has sparked centuries of scholarly debate. The Delphic maxim, "Know thyself," resonates far beyond the oracle's chamber, inviting introspection while simultaneously obscuring the truth behind her proclamations. Archaeological excavations have unveiled tantalizing evidence of the sacred practices surrounding the Pythia. The remnants of the temple, now a sprawling site of stone and ruin, reveal altars where offerings of honey cakes and lambs were made, a testament to the reverence held for the oracle. Fragments of inscriptions, known as the Delphic epigrams, offer glimpses into the advice given to supplicants, each carved word echoing with the weight of generations. In the flickering candlelight of the temple, the Pythia would take her place upon the tripod, a humble yet divine seat, as she inhaled the sacred vapors that rose from the earth. Those who gathered watched in hushed reverence, for they understood they were witnesses to something extraordinary, a dance of the human spirit entwined with the divine. Yet, as the prophecies tumbled forth, spoken with a voice that was both ethereal and otherworldly, one could not help but question the nature of her gift. Was she indeed the oracle of Delphi, a divine mouthpiece, or merely a woman entrapped in a web of earthly miasma? The truth, like the wisps of smoke that faded into the air, remains elusive, a riddle woven intricately into the tapestry of history. Each answer leads to further questions, and as we delve deeper into the mysteries of the Pythia, we find ourselves not just seekers of knowledge, but fellow pilgrims on a quest for understanding, a journey as profound and elusive as the oracle herself. In the annals of antiquity, there exists a place shrouded in enigma, where the whispers of the divine mingled with the murmurs of the earth. Delphi, a site revered as the navel of the world, beckoned seekers of truth and wisdom from every corner of the Hellenic world. Among the many tales that swirl like the sacred smoke of its oracles, none is as compelling or as perplexing as the interplay between ethylene gas and the prophecies of the Pythia, the priestess whose utterances shaped destinies. The very ground of Delphi, set against the majestic backdrop of Mount Parnassus, has been the subject of extensive archaeological inquiry. In the mid-20th century, a team led by the archaeologist John W. Graham unearthed evidence suggesting that beneath the Temple of Apollo, a network of fissures lay hidden, exhaling gases from the Earth's depths. Among these, ethylene, a colorless gas with a sweet odor, was identified as a potential key to understanding the oracular experiences. Ethylene, known today for its role in plant ripening, has a much more intriguing history when considered in the context of prophecy. Imagine, if you will, the scene at Delphi during the height of its glory, around the 6th century BCE. The temple, adorned with intricate friezes depicting mythological battles and adorned with offerings from grateful city-states, became a sacred theater where the mundane and the divine intertwined. Pilgrims ranging from commoners to kings, such as Croesus of Lydia and Alexander the Great, would travel treacherous paths to seek guidance in their quests for power, love, or a way through calamity. Yet, as they entered the inner sanctum, they were met not by the clear voice of a god, but by the shrouded mists that enveloped the Pythia. In the dim light of flickering torches, the Pythia, draped in ethereal robes, would inhale the intoxicating vapors that wafted from the fissures below. Was it the ethylene that induced her trance? Ancient texts, including those of Plutarch, suggest that upon inhaling these gases, the Pythia would enter a state of ecstatic frenzy, her mind transcending the earthly realm to commune with Apollo himself. But herein lies the enigma. Were these moments of divine inspiration or merely the effects of gas-induced euphoria? The answer may be as layered as the myths that envelop Delphi. Some scholars have argued that the Pythia's prophecies were the result of psychological conditioning, a divine performance bolstered by the hallucinogenic properties of ethylene. Others posit that the combination of environmental factors, the sacred geography of Delphi, the rituals preceding the oracle's consultations, and the psychological weight of expectation created a fertile ground for genuine prophetic experience. The very act of descent into the subterranean chambers, as if entering the underworld, might have primed the priestess for a mystical encounter. Yet the allure of the oracle was not merely in the gas she breathed, but in the tapestry of ritual that surrounded her. Offerings of laurel leaves, sacred to Apollo, adorned the temple, while the resonant sound of a lyre played in the background, strumming the chords of divine connection. In this sacred symphony, the Pythia's voice would rise, often cryptic and riddled with metaphor, leaving those who sought her counsel with riddles as profound as the mists themselves. Her utterances sparked thoughts that rippled through the fabric of Greek society, influencing wars, alliances, and the very course of history. The relationship between Etheline and the oracle has led to a modern re-evaluation of the mystical experiences of the ancients. Today, scientists examine the geological structures of Delphi, seeking to understand how natural phenomena could have influenced what was perceived as divine communication. Dr. Robert R. E. McCoy, in a recent study, explored the possibility of other gases, such as methane, playing a role alongside ethylene, adding further layers to the already complex narrative of the oracle. As we weave through the mists of time, the oracle of Delphi emerges not merely as a figure enshrined in myth, but as a conduit of human experience, a bridge between the known and the unknown. The ethylene that rose from the earth may have interacted with the human psyche in ways we are only beginning to comprehend. Was she a mere vessel of gas, or did she truly converse with the divine? The truth may be as elusive as the vapor itself, leaving us with more questions than answers. And so the echoes of Delphi linger on, like the fading notes of a lyre in the twilight, inviting us to ponder the mysteries of our own existence, the whispers of the earth, and the nature of prophecy itself. In this dance of smoke and vision we find not merely a tale of antiquity, but a reflection of our own search for meaning in a world tinged with the divine and the ephemeral. In the shadow of Mount Parnassus, where the green folds of the landscape cradle whispers of the ancients, Delphi emerged as the epicenter of divine communication. Here, the sacred rituals were not mere acts of piety, they were intricate dances of faith and fear, of humanity reaching toward the unfathomable. The oracle, revered and feared alike, drew pilgrims from every corner of the Greek world. But what compelled them to traverse treacherous paths and surging rivers, to seek guidance from a mere woman clad in robes? The answer lay in the rituals that enshrouded the oracle, in a miasma of reverence. As the sun rose over the temple of Apollo, the air thickened with anticipation, a living breath of the earth mingling with the prayers of the faithful. The rituals at Delphi were steeped in symbolism, aiming to appease Apollo, who, as legend held, had slain the serpent Python and claimed this sacred ground. The rituals began long before the oracle would utter her cryptic messages, with the preparation of offerings that often included the blood of sacrificial animals, a goat, a ram, or even a prized bull. The victims, adorned with wreaths of olive and laurel, were led to the altar amidst the mournful strains of lyre and flute, their last moments a tragic celebration of life offered for divine insight. The historian Plutarch, himself a priest at Delphi, documented these rites with an air of somber respect, noting the importance of purity in the sacrifices. The animals had to be unblemished, reflecting the divine perfection of Apollo himself. As the blood spilled on the altar stones, the crowd held its collective breath, for they believed that the essence of life flowed into the ether, becoming a bridge between the mortal and the divine. The flames that consumed the offerings drew the gaze of all, flickering like the spirits of the departed, a vivid reminder of life's fragility and the power of the gods. But it was not merely the blood of the sacrifice that secured Apollo's favor, it was the offerings of the heart, the prayers and questions laden with hope and desperation that accompanied each ritual. The Pythia, chosen for her proximity to the divine, was often accompanied by an entourage of priests who interpreted the will of the gods. The questions posed to her varied from the trivial to the monumental. Should a city wage war? Would a farmer's crops flourish? Each inquiry was steeped in the weight of expectation. The answers sought as much for solace as for guidance. Archaeological excavations at Delphi have unveiled a wealth of insights into these sacred rituals. The remnants of the Temple of Apollo, with its Doric columns and intricate carvings, stand as a testament to the artistry and devotion of the ancient Greeks. Among the ruins lies the omphalos, the navel of the world, a stone believed to signify Delphi's centrality in the divine order. This sacred relic, adorned with intricate patterns, echoed the belief that the oracle was not merely a mouthpiece for Apollo, but the very axis upon which the cosmos turned. Yet the rituals grew more elaborate with each passing generation. The Pythia, often chosen from among the local women, was believed to enter a trance-like state induced by vapors rising from the chasm in the earth, a phenomenon that modern scholars have linked to ethylene gas. This intoxicating mist may have obscured her visions, blending reality with the ethereal. However, whether it was divine inspiration or a mere miasma of the earth that guided her words remains shrouded in enigma, adding layers of complexity to the rituals conducted there. The rites culminated in a moment of heightened tension as the Pythia, perched upon a tripod above the fissure, would inhale the sacred vapors and enter a state of divine possession. Her voice, once soft and melodic, transformed into a harsh, guttural utterance as the priests scrambled to interpret the cryptic messages that tumbled forth. These utterances, often obscured in metaphor and riddles, were recorded and disseminated, becoming the bedrock of future decisions and actions, both civic and personal. As the sun dipped low, casting shadows over the sacred site, the echoes of rituals past lingered in the air, leaving behind whispers of the divine. Each sacrifice, each offering, bound the seekers to the oracle, a thread woven into the fabric of Delphi's history. Within this sacred dance between the human and the divine, questions still loom. Were the prophecies a gift from the gods, or simply the result of earthly phenomena? As the dust of history settles on the ancient stones, the quest for truth continues tantalizingly just beyond reach, like the distant notes of a lyre fading into the twilight. In the heart of ancient Greece, nestled against the slopes of Mount Parnassus, lay Delphi, once the most revered sanctuary of the Greek world. Beyond its sacred temple and the whispered prophecies of the oracle, there existed an undercurrent of rivalry, intrigue, and fierce competition between the city-states. It was a time when alliances were forged and shattered, when the echo of a single prophecy could tilt the scales of power, and when Delphi stood as both a beacon of divine insight and a battleground for human ambition. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden hue upon the marble columns of the Temple of Apollo, the air crackled with tension. The Pythia, the oracle's priestess, sat poised upon her tripod, inhaling the sacred vapors that rose from the chasm below. But while she communed with the divine, a tempest brewed among the city-states of Greece. Athens, Sparta, Corinth, and Thebes each sought the favor of Apollo, believing that his words could grant them victory in their quests for supremacy. Historical accounts tell us that the oracle's pronouncements were often cryptic, a veil cloaked in ambiguity that could be interpreted to serve various ends. In 401 BCE, a significant moment unfolded when the Spartan king, Agesilaus Tugast, sought counsel from Delphi as he prepared to wage war against the Persians. The oracle, in her enigmatic manner, advised him to be bold, for the gods are with you. This prophecy, while seemingly straightforward, was a double-edged sword, for it also encouraged Athens to fortify its defenses against Spartan aggression, igniting yet another round of hostilities. Meanwhile, the powerful city-state of Thebes, feeling the weight of its own ambitions, approached Delphi with a different strategy. They sought to undermine the influence of their rivals by engaging in subterfuge. Thebes, a city renowned for its military prowess, desired Delphi to declare them as the chosen guardians of the sanctuary. They believed that if Delphi's oracle favored them, it would grant them divine legitimacy in their endeavors to dominate their neighbors. Yet the oracle, nestled within her smoke and mystery cocoon, uttered words that left Thebes disillusioned. The serpent will coil, but not without the eagle's watch. The cryptic message was interpreted variously. Some saw it as a warning of their future conflicts with Athens, while others believed it hinted at a fragile alliance that would ultimately lead to betrayal. Amidst this tumult, the city of Corinth played a cunning game of diplomacy, seeking to leverage the oracle's influence for its own gain. With its strategic position on the isthmus, Corinth aimed to dominate trade and exert its power over the Aegean Sea. They sent lavish offerings to the temple, and through their emissaries attempted to sway the oracle's utterances in their favor. Archaeological evidence from the site reveals an array of exquisite dedications, including golden wreaths and intricate pottery, all bearing witness to this city-state's aspiration to secure Delphi's blessing. Yet the pulse of Delphi was not solely dictated by the ambitions of these city-states. The sanctuary was also a refuge, a space for unity amidst chaos. During the sacred Pythian Games, which attracted competitors and spectators from throughout Greece, the rivalries were momentarily set aside. Here, athletic prowess and artistic talents were celebrated, a temporary balm against the backdrop of conflict. Victors were crowned with laurel wreaths, and their names etched into the annals of history, alongside the cryptic prophecies that had guided their paths. The interplay between the oracle-esque prophecies and the ambitions of the city-states was intricate and fraught with tension. Each utterance could shift the balance of power, igniting wars, forging alliances, and even orchestrating betrayals. The oracle's chamber, steeped in the miasma of ethylene, was more than a prophetic stage. It became a chessboard upon which the city-states maneuvered their pieces, each seeking to outwit the other, to claim a fragment of that divine wisdom. Moreover, the rivalry did not remain merely political. Intellectuals, philosophers, and poets flocked to Delphi, drawn by the allure of its mysteries. They grappled with questions of fate and free will, pondering whether the prophecies were divinely inspired or mere echoes of the earth's secrets. Was it the will of the gods that shaped the destinies of men, or was it the miasma seeping from the chasm that clouded their judgment? As the dust settled on the ancient battlegrounds and the shadows lengthened within the sacred precincts of Delphi, the question lingered. Was the prophecy of the oracle truly divine, or merely a miasma from the depths of the earth? The answer, like the sacred vapors that rose from the chasm, remained elusive, an enigma woven into the very fabric of Greek history, forever shrouded in mystery. And so the story of Delphi continued to echo through the ages, a testament to the intertwining fates of mortals and the divine, a reminder that in the pursuit of power, the heart of man often wrestles with the breath of the earth. In the heart of ancient Greece, where the rugged mountains cradle the sacred valleys, there lies a whisper, an echo of the divine, resounding through the ages. Delphi, the navel of the world, not only served as the dwelling place of the oracle, but was also a testament to the formidable presence of Apollo, the god whose light illuminated the path of prophecy. To understand the gravitas of the oracle at Delphi, one must first delve deeper into the multifaceted character of Apollo, a deity revered not just for his prophetic gifts, but also for his artistry, healing, and martial prowess. Apollo, a son of Zeus and Leto, and twin brother to Artemis, was regarded as one of the most significant figures within the Greek pantheon, embodying reason, harmony, and knowledge. Yet alongside these virtues, he was also a god imbued with a compellingly enigmatic nature. His duality was evident in the stark contrast between his benevolence and his capacity for destruction. It is this duality that colored the prophecies uttered by the Pythia, the oracle of Delphi, often leading seekers to question whether Apollo's influence was divinely inspired or shrouded in the miasma of earthly vapors. Archaeological evidence reveals that Delphi was not merely a sanctuary, but a vibrant hub of worship dedicated to Apollo. The ruins of the Temple of Apollo, constructed in the 4th century BCE, stand as a testament to the profound impact this deity had on the ancient world. The temple, built upon the very site where it is believed the Pythia inhaled ethereal vapors, was adorned with exquisite sculptures depicting the mythic battles between Apollo and the serpent Python, symbolizing the god's triumph over chaos. This narrative of conquest and order was central to Apollo's identity, as he was celebrated not only for dispelling darkness, but also for establishing a moral compass through the teachings of the Delphic maxims. The maxims, inscribed on the walls of the temple, served as guiding principles for the Greeks, encapsulating the wisdom sought by those who ventured to consult the oracle. Know thyself and nothing in excess are but two of the aphorisms attributed to Apollo, reflecting the ideals of balance and self-awareness that were foundational to Greek philosophy. In this light, the oracle was not just a conduit for the divine, but also a facilitator of introspection, urging individuals to seek their truth amid the tumult of their desires. Yet, the nature of the prophecies remained tantalizingly ambiguous, often couched in riddles that could lead to multiple interpretations, an echo of Apollo's dual nature. Contrasting Apollo-Eos influence with that of other deities in the Greek pantheon reveals a rich tapestry of belief and practice. Unlike Athena, the goddess of wisdom and warfare, who offered strategic insight through intellect, or Dionysus, the god of ecstasy and revelry, whose prophecies often stemmed from intoxication and frenzy, Apollo represented a more structured form of divination. His oracles were steeped in rationality, yet the haze of uncertainty that accompanied them allowed for a vast array of interpretations, sometimes leading to tragic outcomes. The story of Croesus, the Lydian king, who misinterpreted an oracle's message, serves as a poignant reminder of the perilous dance between human agency and divine will. Moreover, Apollo's association with the arts, music, poetry, and prophecy, further distinguishes him from his divine counterparts. He was the patron of the Muses, the 9 goddesses who inspired creativity and intellect. This connection suggests a deeper philosophical inquiry into the nature of knowledge and the role of the divine in human creativity. The prophecies of the oracle, steeped in poetic ambiguity, echoed the lyrical quality of Apollo's own domain, suggesting that the very act of seeking knowledge was an artistic endeavor. As we turn our gaze back to Delphi, we find ourselves at the crossroads of myth and reality, where the breath of the earth mingles with divine whispers. The miasma that enveloped the Pythia, possibly a product of ethylene gas rising from the chasms below, may have granted her altered states of consciousness, yet it was Apollo's spirit that imbued those utterances with meaning. The delicate interplay between this divine influence and the earthly substances that nurtured it invites a riddle that remains unsolved, lingering like the very mist that shrouded the sacred site. Thus, the oracle at Delphi stands not only as a beacon of ancient prophecy, but as a complex tapestry woven from the threads of Apollo's multifaceted nature, his virtues, his mysteries, and his enduring legacy. In the silence of the ruins, one can almost hear the distant echoes of those who sought solace and understanding, their stories forever entwined with the enigma of the God who guided them. In the cradle of ancient Greece, beneath the shadows of Mount Parnassus, lies a site cloaked in reverence and enigma, the sanctuary of Delphi. Its soil, woven with the whispers of gods and mortals, has yielded countless artifacts, each a mute witness to the sacred dialogues that transpired between humanity and the divine. As we sift through the remnants of this hallowed ground, we unearth not merely objects, but echoes of the past that reveal the very essence of the oracle's enduring mystery. Among the most captivating artifacts excavated from Delphi's embrace is the famed omphalos, a stone carved with intricate designs that ancient Greeks believed marked the navel of the world. This sacred object served as a physical and spiritual anchor, connecting the earthly realm to the divine. The omphalos, cradling the essence of Apollo's presence, invited seekers of truth to meditate upon their own existence and the universe's grand design. When one stood before it, it was as though they teetered on the brink of revelation, poised to receive the oracle's cryptic insights. The stone's presence, coupled with the intoxicating vapors that rose from the earth, compels us to ponder. Was it divine inspiration, or the miasmatic breath of Gaia that stirred the souls of those who sought counsel? The discovery of the Temple of Apollo itself, with its towering columns that once reached toward the heavens, further unravels the tapestry of Delphi's mystery. Here, in the heart of the sanctuary, resided the Pythia, the priestess who would embody the voice of the god. Archaeologists have unearthed remnants of the temple's foundations, revealing how its architecture echoed the grandeur of divine aspiration. Inscriptions carved upon stone tablets tell of the rituals performed here, sacrifices of lambs, and offerings of honeyed cakes that danced through the air as supplicants sought to appease Apollo. Each offering was a thread woven into the fabric of fate, and through the Pythia's enigmatic utterances, the threads were spun into prophecies that would ripple through time. Yet it is the inscriptions themselves, delicate etchings on the walls and oracles on clay tablets, that truly speak volumes. One particularly evocative inscription, the famous maxim, "Know thyself," attributed to Apollo, resonates through the ages. It implores not only self-reflection, but also the acceptance of human limitation, a reminder that even the mightiest of mortals are but fleeting shadows against the backdrop of eternity. As we pause to consider these words, we realize they were spoken in a time when the divine was accessible, yet shrouded in mystery, a duality that continues to haunt our quest for understanding. Moreover, the archaeological layers of Delphi reveal much about the visitors who journeyed to seek wisdom. The remains of the Stoa of the Athenians, a colonnaded structure built as a tribute to the oracle, showcase the reverence bestowed upon Delphi, an echo of the political and social ramifications of the prophecies that emerged from the sacred site. Among the artifacts found here are intricate bronze offerings, left by those who sought favor from Apollo. These objects, war helmets, votive figurines, and ornate vessels, tell stories of ambition, desperation, and faith, each a testament to the human condition as it collided with the divine. Yet, the most tantalizing of all artifacts is perhaps the so-called Delphic Sibyl, a marble statue believed to represent a prophetess inspired by Apollo. With her enigmatic smile and penetrating gaze, she embodies the timeless quest for knowledge and foresight. Scholars speculate on her origins, connecting her to various prophetic traditions that spanned cultures and epochs, suggesting that Delphi was not merely a Greek phenomenon, but a nexus of prophetic wisdom that transcended borders. As we delve deeper into the relics of Delphi, we confront an uncomfortable truth, the intersection of belief and materiality. The artifacts serve as tangible reminders of the complex relationship between faith and reason, divinity and human endeavor. Were these objects mere tools of worship, or did they hold a deeper, darker secret? The presence of ethylene gas, some argue, could have influenced the Pythia's prophecies, intertwining the sacred with the scientific in a manner that leaves our understanding of prophecy tantalizingly unresolved. In the end, as we sift through the echoes of the past, each artifact, each inscription, invites us to contemplate our own connection to the mysteries of existence. The oracle at Delphi is not merely a relic of a bygone era, but a living enigma, whispering to us through the ages, urging us to seek, to question, and to dream, an everlasting testament to humanity's insatiable thirst for knowledge and the divine. In the heart of the ancient world where the sun kissed the rugged heights of Mount Parnassus stood the sanctuary of Delphi, a site revered not just for its divine oracle, but for the wisdom encapsulated in its maxims. These words, carved in stone and echoed through the ages, served as guiding principles for the Greeks, permeating their culture, philosophy, and everyday life. The Delphic maxims were not mere aphorisms. They were the very breath of a civilization striving for moral clarity and self-awareness in a chaotic world. Among the most famous of these utterances was "Know thyself," inscribed at the entrance of the Temple of Apollo, where the Pythia would sit in her sacred trance. The phrase, attributed to various sages, including Socrates, encapsulated the essence of Greek philosophy, a call to introspection and self-examination. But what did it mean to the pilgrims who flocked to Delphi, seeking counsel from the ethereal priestess? To know oneself was to acknowledge one's strengths and weaknesses, to understand the divine spark within, and to recognize one's place in the grand tapestry of existence. As visitors made their way through the winding paths to the temple, they were greeted not only by the fragrant aroma of laurel leaves, but also by the weight of their own inquiries. Rich and poor alike, from emperors to humble farmers, sought guidance. The wisdom of the oracle, cloaked in cryptic utterances, often left seekers with more questions than answers. Yet the Pythia's enigmatic proclamations, such as "nothing in excess," offered a moral compass, urging balance in a world rife with extremes. These maxims echoed the teachings of philosophers like Aristotle and were deeply embedded in the societal fabric, influencing everything from governance to personal conduct. The historical significance of these maxims was profound, yet their origins remain shrouded in mystery. Some scholars argue that they were derived from ancient hymns or the collective wisdom of the Delphic priests, while others suggest they were the product of divine inspiration bestowed upon the Pythia herself. The notion of divine wisdom imparted through human vessels resonates through the tales of history. Consider the legendary philosopher Pythagoras, who was said to have been deeply influenced by the oracle's teachings. His mathematical and philosophical contributions to Western thought reflect the intertwining of divine insight and human intellect. As we delve deeper into the maxims, we encounter "Give a pledge and mischief is nigh," a warning against the dangers of overcommitment and rash decisions. This declaration resonates deeply with the trials faced by historical figures such as King Croesus of Lydia, who consulted the oracle before waging war. The fateful advice he received that if he crossed the river Halys, he would destroy a great empire, led to his ruin when he misinterpreted the prophecy. Such tales highlight the dual nature of the oracle's wisdom, a beacon of insight that could just as easily lead one astray. The archaeological remnants of Delphi, particularly the inscriptions found on the walls of the temple, further illuminate the significance of these maxims. Fragments of pottery, votive offerings, and decorative sculptures have all been discovered bearing these wise sayings. Most notably, the colossal statue of Apollo, standing sentinel over the sacred site, serves as a reminder of the divine authority that lent weight to the oracle's words. Each artifact whispers tales of those who sought wisdom and who left behind their hopes, fears, and the burdens of their lives. As we unravel the threads of history, we find that the Delphic maxims were not merely philosophical musings. They were a reflection of a society grappling with the complexities of existence. In a time when cities rose and fell and empires crumbled under the weight of their hubris, the wisdom of Delphi offered a glimmer of clarity. It guided leaders like Alexander the Great, who sought the oracle's counsel before embarking on his legendary campaigns, shaping the destinies of nations through the insights gleaned from these cryptic utterances. In the end, the Delphic maxims endure as echoes of a world that strived for understanding in the midst of uncertainty. They invite us to reflect on our own journeys, to question the nature of our desires, and to seek the deeper truths that lie beneath the surface of our lives. As we ponder these ancient words, we are reminded that even in the haze of miasma and the shadows of divine prophecy, wisdom remains a guiding light, illuminating the path of those brave enough to seek it. In the shadow of Mount Parnassus, where the cliffs cradle the secrets of the ancients, the sanctuary of Delphi stood as a beacon of prophecy, a realm where the divine and the earthly entwined in a dance as enigmatic as the mist that often cloaked its slopes. The oracle, revered and feared, spoke in riddles that echoed through history, but the very essence of her utterances sparked a debate that would reverberate through the ages. Were her prophecies the voice of Apollo, or were they merely the result of a noxious miasma rising from the earth itself? To unravel this mystery, we must first turn our gaze to the heart of Delphi, where the Pythia, the high priestess of Apollo, would take her seat on a tripod over the chasm known as the Omphalos, the navel of the world. It was here that supplicants, from kings to commoners, gathered to seek the wisdom of the gods. They believed in the divine inspiration that guided her words, yet whispers of a more terrestrial explanation began to circulate long before the age of modern science. In the late 19th century, a curious mind named John Franklin Enders ventured into the depths of the Delphi site, captivated by its allure. As he sifted through the remains of the temple, he stumbled upon geological formations that hinted at the presence of ethylene gas, an odorless compound that, when inhaled, induces a state of euphoria and altered consciousness. His findings sparked a tempest of scholarly interest and debate. Could it be that the oracle's ecstatic visions were not divine, but rather the result of a hallucinogenic miasma seeping from the very stone of the temple? To explore this theory, we step back even further in time to the days of the ancient Greeks themselves. The physician Hippocrates, often hailed as the father of medicine, postulated that certain vapors could influence mental states, suggesting a connection between the mind and the environment. His ideas resonated with those of his contemporaries, who often attributed profound experiences to geological phenomena. The notion that Delphi was situated atop a fissure where gases escaped was not lost on the ancients, who speculated that such emissions could be the source of the oracle's prophetic abilities. Yet the Greeks were no strangers to the divine. They revered their pantheon of gods, and Apollo's presence was omnipresent, particularly in Delphi. The sacred rituals performed at the site were steeped in tradition, with elaborate sacrifices, hymns, and offerings to appease the deities. The priests and priestesses would prepare the Pythia through purification rites, believing not only in the spiritual aspects but also in the physical preparations necessary to channel divine wisdom. This intertwining of belief and ritual creates an intricate tapestry that complicates the miasma debate. In the annals of history, one encounters figures like Plutarch, the priest of Delphi, who offered a compelling defense of the oracle's divine nature. He argued that while natural phenomena might play a role in the experience of prophecy, it was the divine influence of Apollo that truly guided the Pythia's utterances. The duality of science and belief became a focal point of philosophical discourse, engaging minds from Aristotle to Cicero. Each sought to understand whether the oracle's proclamation stemmed from celestial inspiration or earthly intoxication. As archaeological excavations progressed into the 20th century, the mystery deepened. Excavators unearthed remnants of the sacred site, revealing not just the physical remains, but also the cultural artifacts that spoke of a civilization enraptured by the powerful forces of the divine. Pottery, inscribed with oracles, votive offerings, and inscriptions, hinted at the complex relationship between the human desire for knowledge and the perennial quest for divine favor. The site became a battleground of ideas where the ethereal and the empirical collided. Some modern scholars argue that the Pythia's trance-like state was indeed enhanced by the geological gases, while others maintain that her prophecies were an authentic connection to the divine, a divine madness, if you will, bestowed upon her by Apollo himself. As the sun sets behind the craggy peaks of Parnassus, one cannot help but feel the weight of this debate echoing through the ages. The oracle at Delphi remains a tantalizing enigma, a symbol of the eternal struggle between faith and reason, spirit and matter. Whether a harbinger of divine wisdom or a mere conduit of earthly vapors, the whispers of the oracle continue to resonate, inviting each generation to ponder the nature of truth itself. In the quietude of the mountains, the breath of the earth lingers, a reminder that perhaps the most profound mysteries are those that elude definitive answers, forever cloaked in the mists of Delphi. In the heart of ancient Greece, where the rugged mountains cradle the sacred site of Delphi, the intoxicating scent of mystery wafted through the air, entwining itself with the whispers of powerful men and the prophecies that shaped empires. Here, the oracle of Delphi stood as a beacon of wisdom, her enigmatic utterances guiding the decisions of kings and commoners alike. The question that lingered like a fleeting shadow in the minds of those seeking counsel was not merely whether the oracle spoke the will of the gods, but rather how these divine pronouncements were woven into the very fabric of political intrigue. Throughout the annals of history, Delphi was not merely a religious sanctuary, it was a political chessboard where empires maneuvered, alliances were forged, and destinies were altered. The Pythia, the oracle's priestess, sat enthroned over the sacred chasm, inhaling vapors that some believed were divine, while others speculated they were toxic gases rising from the earth, an ethereal cocktail of ethylene that may have altered her consciousness. But whatever the source of her prophetic visions, the impact of her words resonated through the corridors of power. One of the most compelling figures to seek the oracle's guidance was King Croesus of Lydia, whose wealth was as boundless as his ambition. In 560 BCE, he approached Delphi with a burning question. Should he march against the Persian Empire? The oracle, cloaked in her enigmatic aura, replied, "If you cross the river, a great empire will fall." Croesus, emboldened by this proclamation, initiated his campaign with confidence, only to find that it was his own empire that would crumble beneath the weight of his miscalculation. The prophecy, shrouded in ambiguity, left him to grapple with the cruel irony of his fate. The oracle's words had become a double-edged sword, prophetic wisdom that led to his ruin, yet one that reverberated through the ages, reminding rulers of the perilous dance between fate and free will. As the winds of time swept through Delphi, another illustrious figure cast a long shadow over the oracle's hallowed ground, Alexander the Great. In 334 BCE, before embarking on his monumental conquest of Persia, he sought the oracle's counsel, an act that would intertwine his destiny with that of the oracle itself. The Pythia, it is said, proclaimed him the son of Zeus, imbuing Alexander with a divine aura that justified his extraordinary ambitions. This prophetic endorsement not only bolstered his resolve, but also cemented the oracle's significance as a source of divine sanction for his endeavors, allowing him to navigate the complex waters of loyalty and rebellion that would define his reign. However, the oracle's influence did not come without a price. The intricate web of political maneuvering surrounding Delphi saw not only kings but also city-states vying for favor. The Delphic Amphictyony, a council formed by neighboring states, was instrumental in controlling access to the oracle. This powerful assembly wielded significant influence, deciding which city-states could consult the oracle and when. The resulting political machinations often led to a precarious balance of power, where an oracle's favor could shift allegiances and spark conflict. The question of the oracle's integrity was a constant undercurrent, especially as the wealth of Delphi grew with the influx of pilgrims and the offerings they brought. The sanctuary became a treasure trove, attracting those who would seek to sway the oracle's influence for personal gain. Historical records suggest that certain factions within Delphi exploited this sacred trust, manipulating prophecies to serve specific political agendas. Such instances cast a pall over the oracle's divine authority, raising doubts about whether her words were truly inspired by a higher power or merely a reflection of the ambitions of those who sought to control her. Yet, as the political tides ebbed and flowed, Delphi remained a steadfast pillar in the world of ancient Greece. The sanctuary not only bore witness to the rise and fall of empires, but also served as a reminder that wisdom, however shrouded in mystery, could wield immense power. It was a realm where the ethereal met the earthly, where the machinations of men intertwined with the divine, and where the oracle continued to cast her haunting shadows, whispering truths that belied the hope and despair of a nation. The enigma of the oracle at Delphi persists, blurring the lines between divine inspiration and the machinations of human ambition. Those who ventured into the sacred precincts of Delphi left not only with answers, but also with questions that haunted their souls. As the ancient stones of the sanctuary stand resilient against the ravages of time, they whisper the stories of those who sought the light of prophecy in the depths of uncertainty, forever entwined in the eternal dance of fate and free will. In the ancient world nestled within the craggy embrace of Mount Parnassus, Delphi rose as a beacon for those seeking wisdom, guidance, and perhaps the very breath of prophecy. Pilgrims from corners far and wide journeyed along treacherous paths, through valleys draped in mist, and over mountains that whispered tales of gods and men. Each traveler was drawn by a singular quest, to seek the oracle, the enigmatic Pythia, and unravel the intricate tapestry of fate that she was said to weave with her divine utterances. Amongst the throng of supplicants were not merely the common folk, but illustrious figures whose names echoed through the annals of history. The likes of Croesus, the wealthy king of Lydia, journeyed to Delphi, shrouded in the velvety cloak of ambition. His insatiable thirst for knowledge led him to the oracle's sacred chamber, where he sought counsel on his military fate against Persia. The tale goes that the oracle's words, cryptic and veiled, foretold that he would destroy a great empire. Misinterpreting her prophecy as a harbinger of triumph, Croesus would find instead that his own kingdom lay in ruins, underscoring the perilous ambiguity of divine insight. Yet Croesus was but one among many. The city-states of Greece, each in constant flux, sent their leaders, philosophers, and common citizens alike to seek guidance. Socrates, the father of Western philosophy, while not recorded as a direct supplicant, certainly felt the tremors of Delphi's influence. The Delphic maxim, "Know thyself," carved into the temple's friezes, became a cornerstone of his teachings, reflecting the deep philosophical undercurrents that flowed from this sacred site. Archaeological investigations reveal the staggering scale of this pilgrimage. The Sacred Way, a path lined with treasuries and monuments, served as a testament to the reverence in which the oracle was held. Each city-state constructed elaborate dedications, their marble facades standing as proud announcements of devotion. The treasures housed within these repositories glittered with the spoils of conquest and tribute, showcasing the intertwining of spiritual and political ambition. As pilgrims ascended the winding slopes, they would be greeted by towering statues, such as the famed charioteer of Delphi, a symbol of victory and divine favor. Women, too, sought the oracle's wisdom, albeit their journeys remained shrouded in the societal constraints of the time. The priestess, chosen from among the humble folk of Delphi, held a unique position that transcended gender norms. This paradoxical elevation allowed women to wield influence in a patriarchal society, albeit in the veiled guise of divine possession. Historical accounts suggest that even the queen of the Macedonian realm made the pilgrimage, her heart heavy with the weight of impending war. As we traverse the landscape of Delphi, we come to the amphitheater, a stage where the echoes of countless voices still linger. Here, the thrumming heartbeat of the oracle's influence reverberated through the crowd, as those seeking answers would gather not only to listen to her prophecies, but also to witness the grand spectacles of athletic contests and theatrical performances. Each event was infused with the spirit of competition and celebration, a reminder that life, like the cryptic utterances of the oracle, was a blend of triumph and tragedy. The journey to Delphi was not merely one of distance, it was a passage through the very fabric of human experience. Pilgrims confronted their desires, fears, and ambitions in the shadow of the sacred. The oracle's utterances did not always provide the clarity sought. Often they were riddles wrapped in ambiguity, leading some to despair while igniting hope in others. The tale of Alexander the Great, who approached the oracle seeking affirmation of his destined greatness, serves as a poignant reminder of the duality of prophecy. Her cryptic proclamation of "You are invincible" left him emboldened, yet the history that followed would be fraught with conflict and consequence. In this intertwining of lives and destinies, we find the essence of Delphi. It was a place where the mundane met the divine, where the journey was as significant as the destination. The oracle, ensconced in her laurel-scented chamber, became a mirror reflecting the desires of those who came to her, each seeker, a storyteller in their own right, adding their chapter to the grand narrative of human existence. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting shadows over the temple of Apollo, the legacy of these pilgrimages continued to resonate, forever entwined with the mystique of the oracle at Delphi. In the shadow of Mount Parnassus, where once the air shimmered with divine whispers and the earth trembled with the secrets of the cosmos, a profound silence began to settle over Delphi. Once a revered nexus of prophetic insight, the decline of the oracle marked a poignant transition from the age of gods and heroes to a world increasingly governed by reason and skepticism. The echoes of its once sacred halls faded, not merely into legend, but into the very soil that had borne witness to centuries of divination, worship, and human ambition. By the time of the Roman Empire's ascendancy in the 1st century A.D., Delphi had begun to lose its luster. The political machinations of Rome, with its insatiable thirst for control and order, cast a long shadow over the mystique of the oracle. The Greek city-states, once vibrant and fiercely independent, found themselves splintered, their voices silenced in the grand narrative of imperial ambition. The oracle, once a beacon of clarity amidst chaos, became a relic, its prophecies increasingly viewed through the lens of skepticism and cultural shift. Yet the decline was not merely a consequence of political upheaval. As the rise of rational thought and the philosophical contributions of figures like Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle took root, the very fabric of belief began to unravel. Philosophy increasingly displaced the mystical, and the once coveted utterances of the Pythia were scrutinized and dissected, their divine origins questioned. The miasma debate, which had previously entangled the oracle in layers of divine and earthly influences, began to resonate more strongly. The notion that the oracle's prophecies could be induced by ethylene gas seeped from the earth, a natural phenomenon rather than divine inspiration, disrupted the sacred narrative. In the tumultuous waves of the 3rd century A.D., the emergence of Christianity further punctuated Delphi's decline. As the new faith unfurled its wings across the Mediterranean, it sought to erase the vestiges of pagan beliefs, branding them as heretical. The oracle, once a sanctuary for seekers of truth, found itself increasingly isolated and marginalized. The sacred temple dedicated to Apollo, the god who had bestowed the gift of prophecy, succumbed to the ravages of neglect and disrepair. The marble columns, once gleaming under the sun, began to crumble, as if the very breath of the ancient gods had been exhaled into the ether. The final blow came in the early 4th century A.D., when Emperor Theodosius I issued an edict that extinguished the flame of pagan practice across the empire. The temple at Delphi, now a shadow of its former glory, was closed, and the oracle's last whispers were lost to time. In a cascading collapse, the site that had once drawn pilgrims from far and wide became a forgotten relic encased in the heavy mists of history. Yet even in its decline, Delphi's legacy remained potent, a testament to the human search for meaning and connection with the divine. The whispers of the oracle began to transform into echoes within philosophical texts, inspiring thinkers and poets who would grapple with the mysteries of existence for centuries to come. The Delphic maxims, "Know thyself and nothing in excess," became guiding principles that transcended the ruins, reverberating through the ages as beacons of wisdom. Archaeological expeditions in the 19th and 20th centuries unearthed the remnants of this once sacred space, reigniting interest and intrigue. The Temple of Apollo, with its remnants of grandeur, told a story not merely of religious devotion, but of the human spirit's relentless quest for answers to life's most profound questions. Artifacts, such as the famous charioteer of Delphi and inscriptions bearing the maxims, became touchstones for understanding the cultural and spiritual tapestry of ancient Greece. As scholars sift through the layers of soil and time, the enigma of the oracle at Delphi persists, inviting us to ponder, was it divine prophecy or a miasma from the earth? Perhaps the truth lies not in dividing the sacred from the mundane, but in embracing the complexity of belief itself. In the heart of Delphi, where the earth once breathed with the weight of prophecy, the legacy of the oracle lingers, a captivating mystery that continues to draw seekers and dreamers back to its storied embrace, where the ancient and the modern intertwine in an eternal dance of inquiry. In the embrace of the rugged Parnassus Mountains, the ancient site of Delphi lay shrouded in both myth and the whispers of time. For centuries, it had been a beacon for seekers of truth. But as the world pivoted into the modern age, it became a canvas upon which both legend and scientific inquiry would paint their narratives. As the 19th century dawned, a curious spirit swept across Europe, inspired by Romanticism and a newfound fascination with the past. It was during this tumultuous period that the Oracle of Delphi began to emerge from the shadows of obscurity, drawing the attention of archaeologists and historians alike. In 1861, archaeologists began their systematic excavations at Delphi, led by the French School of Athens, under the auspices of the illustrious archaeologist Paul Foucault. The site, once revered as the center of the world by the ancient Greeks, revealed its secrets layer by layer, like the peeling of an onion. The ruins of the Temple of Apollo, the sacred precinct, and the theater where echoes of ancient hymns still lingered, began to rise from the earth, revealing the grandeur that had once inspired the likes of Socrates and Alexander the Great. Among the discoveries was a trove of inscriptions known as the Delphic maxims, succinct pieces of wisdom that had guided the moral compass of generations. Yet, buried beneath these tangible remnants of civilization lay an enigma that continued to intrigue: the nature of the prophetic utterances themselves. Archaeologists and historians found themselves at a crossroads between science and mythology, between tangible evidence and the mystical aura that had surrounded the oracle for millennia. A pivotal moment in this journey of rediscovery came in the early 20th century, when the enigmatic substance that had been whispered about in antiquity, the ethylene gas, was brought into the scientific spotlight. Dr. J.R.H. Hutton, a geologist, postulated that the oracle's trance-like states could be attributed to the inhalation of ethylene, a gas that can induce euphoria and altered states of consciousness. This theory reignited the flames of debate, igniting discussions that spanned the realms of skepticism and belief, as scholars sought to reconcile the sacred and the scientific. Yet, amid these discussions, the ethereal quality of the oracle's prophecies persisted. Visitors still flocked to Delphi, drawn not only by the promise of enlightenment, but also by a sense of connection to the divine. In the 20th century, the charismatic figure of Carl Jung, the Swiss psychiatrist, ventured into the ancient site, likening the oracle's prophecies to the archetypes that inhabit the collective unconscious. Jung saw in Delphi a place where the human psyche met its divine counterpart, thus folding the oracle back into the tapestry of psychological exploration. As the years passed, the excavations continued, revealing further treasures such as the ancient stadium where Pythian games were celebrated, and a multitude of artifacts that whispered tales of worship and devotion. Each shard of pottery and crumbling column seemed to breathe life into the oracle's legacy, weaving a narrative that spoke not only of prophecy, but of the rituals and beliefs that shaped the ancient world. Yet the question remained, was the oracle a genuine conduit for divine knowledge or merely a product of environmental influences? The miasma debate raged on, drawing in scholars, poets, and philosophers. The ethereal quality of Delphi could not be dismissed. Perhaps it was this very ambiguity that rendered it so powerful. The oracle became a symbol of the uncharted territories of human understanding, a meeting place for faith and reason, myth and reality. In the latter half of the 20th century, the site underwent a new wave of archaeological study spurred by technological advancements. Ground-penetrating radar and computerized analysis provided new insights into the layout of the sanctuary and the rituals that took place within its hallowed grounds. Yet, for every answer unearthed, new questions arose and the mystery deepened. What lay beneath the surface? What sacred truths remained locked away in the whispers of the earth? As we stand on the precipice of the 21st century, the Oracle of Delphi continues to be a compelling intersection of history, science, and spirituality. It invites us to ponder the very nature of knowledge and the mysteries of existence. The site, both sacred and scientific, serves as a reminder that perhaps it is not about finding definitive answers, but rather about embracing the questions that propel us into the depths of our own humanity. In the heart of Delphi, the sacred and the profane, the seen and the unseen remain entwined, an eternal enigma that beckons to be explored. In the flickering candlelight of a dimly lit study, amidst shelves crammed with scrolls and tomes, a figure sits hunched over a parchment, quill poised, as if conversing with the spirits of the past. The Oracle of Delphi, a beacon of wisdom and guidance for the ancient Greeks, resonates through time, echoing in the hearts of those who seek answers to the great mysteries of the human condition. Yet, as the centuries unfurled, the question remained. Was the prophecy delivered at Delphi a divine whisper from the gods, or mere words born of the earth's intoxicating miasma? The reverberations of Delphi extend far beyond the rugged hills of Phocis, marking their presence through the annals of history and into the very fabric of modern thought. The revered oracle has cast a long shadow, inspiring philosophers, visionaries, and leaders who turn to its enigmatic wisdom in times of uncertainty. From the likes of Socrates and Plato, whose dialogues often wrestled with the nature of truth and knowledge, to the rulers of ancient empires seeking the favor of Apollo, the oracle's influence was deeply imprinted upon the psyche of Western civilization. As we delve deeper into the enigma, we must consider the myriad ways in which Delphi shaped not only the political landscape of the ancient world, but also the philosophical currents that flowed through it. The cryptic utterances of the Pythia, often couched in riddles and layered meanings, encourage thinkers to refine their own understanding of morality, existence, and the divine. Her prophecies were more than mere predictions. They were invitations to reflect, to question, and to seek greater truths. The Delphic maxim, "Know thyself," became a guiding principle for many, urging individuals to embark on an introspective journey that would resonate through the teachings of later philosophers. The echoes of Delphi were not confined to Greece. As the Roman Empire burgeoned, the oracle was adopted into their own mythos, intertwining with the fabric of their governance and culture. Emperors, from Augustus to Nero, made pilgrimages to Delphi, seeking the prophetic insights that could lend legitimacy to their reigns. The sacred site transformed into a political chessboard where the divine and the temporal collided, and the ambiguities of prophecy became tools for manipulation. The oracle's words shaped treaties, wars, and the very destinies of nations, leaving an indelible mark on the pages of history. Yet, as the Roman Empire waned and the shadows of the Dark Ages descended, the oracle's whispers faded into obscurity. The once sacred site was abandoned, its sanctuaries claimed by the relentless embrace of nature. However, the essence of Delphi persisted, woven into the tapestry of medieval alchemy and Renaissance humanism. Scholars, drawn by the allure of ancient wisdom, sought out the remnants of Delphi, interpreting its messages through their own mystical lens. The enigmatic nature of its prophecies found new life in the works of figures like Michel de Nostradame, known as Nostradamus, who centuries later mirrored the Pythia's cryptic style in his own prophetic writings. The Age of Enlightenment brought forth an intellectual revival as the human spirit sought to reclaim knowledge lost to the ages. Delphi's legacy resurfaced in the works of philosophers such as Immanuel Kant, who pondered the nature of reason and morality, and Friedrich Nietzsche, who invoked the notion of the Apollonian versus the Dionysian to explore the duality of human experience. The oracle, once a voice from the divine, now became a symbol of the eternal quest for understanding amidst the chaos of existence. In the modern era, the intrigue surrounding Delphi has surged anew. Archaeological excavations have peeled back layers of time, revealing artifacts that speak of worship, supplication, and the human yearning for connection with the divine. The Temple of Apollo stands as a testament to the enduring nature of belief, while the sanctuary complex reflects the intricate relationship between religion, politics, and culture. Scholars debate the precise chemical composition of the Earth's vapors, theorizing on their role in the prophecies, yet the true essence of Delphi remains elusive. In the end, the oracle at Delphi serves as a mirror reflecting humanity's unending pursuit of knowledge, truth, and purpose. The question of whether the prophecies were divine or merely the product of geological phenomena may never be definitively answered. However, what is certain is that the influence of Delphi transcends the ages, reminding each generation that the search for wisdom, much like the journey of the soul, is as vital today as it was in the time of the ancients. The oracle's whispers continue to resonate, urging us to explore the depths of our own existence and to seek the profound truths that lie hidden within.